All right, gang, welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about it's actually a two-parter that we're going to start with. It includes Incident Management System and MCI, having to do with EMS operations. As you progress in your career, you're going to go from team member of this to a team leader, and you need to know about the progression of that and how it goes. And so again, this is a two-parter. The first part's going to be talking about the incident management system. The second part, we're going to get into MCIs and how EMS integrates into the incident management system. Okay, cool thing about incident management is that it is flexible. It is expandable. That's the reason that we use it. It can be used for everything. Okay, it really can. Military applications all the way to massive complex incidents to the everyday structure fire. So and the idea is that you develop command and control for whatever incident that you might have. By the way, the World Trade Center, I will tell you, the guys that are really good at this, by the way, is U.S. Forestry Service. And that's kind of where the roots of incident management kind of started out. But U.S. Forest Service is actually what started to run the World Trade Center cleanups. Because again, these are the guys that were experts in that particular field, and that they were brought in to consult and then eventually take over the operation, because that's what they were good at, was command and control of resources. Okay, you're right. They didn't know how to tear steel beams apart. They didn't know about how to order They didn't know about exactly how to load a concrete truck, but they knew that you needed X number amount of concrete trucks to start loading stuff up, and how to listen to the people on the scene and on the ground in order to make that work, and how to cut this and how to do the body recovery. They knew about how to get the people there to do that and then coordinate those people. So that's what incident management truly is the coordination of your resources, okay? To use it maximum amount, you get the best bang for your buck. Okay. So again, low impact incidents, that's usually handled by, it can tax the EMS system, but it doesn't overwhelm it. But again, the example here, the World Trade Center, yeah, that's going to overload any organization, okay, no matter what. What about floods or hurricanes? We knew the hurricane was coming, but again, did we know about all of the different things that we were going to have to deal with? And again, this is where it becomes a national disaster. And so, again, as a matter of fact, it took the military actually coming into that. What a lot of people don't know is that they took over the operations side of it, but everything else was handled actually by U.S. Forest Service. That's something to think about. All right. So again, your high impact incidents. Okay. Again, these are stressful local emergencies, and then you got an actual disaster where it overwhelms the region that it helps support. If you have a real bad accident in Marion County, let's say in the northwest end of Marion County, where there's not that many ambulances, you can call for Levy County, you can call for Alachua County. Everybody comes together. We work together. Boom, have a nice day. Okay. And but what happens if we have a hurricane come through, a Category 5 hurricane come in around Yankeetown and then cut across the state to St. Augustine? Yeah, well, guess what? Levy County's resources gone. Alachua County, Marion County's resources gone. Lake County, Sumter County, probably not faring too much better. Okay, Putnam County destroyed. Okay, again, St. Augustine underwater. Now, where do you pull the other resources from? And this is where the incident command system works, as well as disaster management, the disaster management part of it. This is where your state starts to come into it. So again, the incident command system is controlling, directing, and coordinating emergency responses, but the IMS is adopted by law enforcement. IMS is more for everybody. Incident command system is more of the structure, the initial setup of it. Now, the NIMS is the National Incident Management System, and it is required that all services develop some sort of IMS integration into their. And by the way, one of the assignments that I'm going to be giving you guys is that you complete your IS 100, IS 200, IS 700, IS 800. By the way, most of you guys, if you're already working for a fire department, already have those certifications, okay? Because they are required in order to receive any federal funding. All employees must have them, okay? So for those of you who we're going to be assigning those to where you have to actually do the courses online. Yes, they are online through the Department of Homeland Security. And so again, they take a little bit of time to do, about an hour to an hour and a half for each one. But I will tell you, once you have all the 4 of these, you don't have to repeat it again. So when you walk in, they go, well, you got to do I-1, 200, 200. And you can go, here's my certificate. And there you go. So, again, all EMS agencies need to be aware of the NIMS compliance. You have, again, if you're getting any federal funding, that is every department that I know of anywhere, you have to be compliant with this, okay? They have to have a minimum of IS 100, IS 200, IS 700. You have to have those 3 classes, okay? So again, the Homeland Security Protection 5 is only federal requirements for the IMS to fall under OSHA regulations. OSHA regulates mirrored Environmental Protection Agency regulations. Pretty much they reference each other, by the way, from a legal standpoint. And usually the state governments mirror the federal government requirements, okay? So again, the NFPA said, yeah, we were going to use this. Pretty much everybody uses the IMS model for disaster. And again, this is the example where you can find the online training. And yes, we're going to be using that when you guys do your classes online. So the cool thing about IMS, okay, it's flexible. It can grow or shrink as you need it for your incident, okay? Yes, a medical call, technically, you could run incident command on it. What is it you need? An incident commander, and that's it, because, again, he can coordinate the 4 or 5 people. Well, we start getting 10 people on a scene. Well, in this case, we might need an incident commander and an operations supervisor. Okay, now what happens when that incident gets to be 50 people? I've got an incident commander, an operations supervisor, and 2 team leaders. Okay, what happens when I got fire trucks on scene, ambulances on scene, and now we've identified it as an MCI, and I'm going to have 20 to 30 people there. Okay, now I want you to remember this little number right here, 5. That is your optimum span of control. Okay, you should have 1 supervisor for every 3 to 7 people, okay? So if you start seeing that your incident is growing and I've got 10 people assigned, split your teams. Assign a team leader for one, a team leader for the next one. Assign them to where you would get that span of control back down to 5, okay? It's what helps us control the incident. You have only 1 person talking from that group to the next level. I've seen guys, incidents. One of the cool things is I'm a planning section chief, but I've actually seen incidents with levels of, 14 levels of personnel. In other words, the team leader answers to this person, which answers to the division supervisor. The division supervisor answers to the manager. The managers then answer to one operations chief. The operations chief then goes to the incident commander. And yeah, by the way, yeah, you got these big battle boards out when you're doing that. Okay. But again, everybody should be on this. So if you can remember this is the 5 parts of incident command. You got your commander, finance administration. This is all usually on your bigger incidents, which is requiring a lot of money use. These are the guys that track the money part, or do the administrative contracts that might be needed. Logistics, yeah, again, a big incident. Your logistics section chief will make your day or break your day. I'm also one of those, and I can tell you that the logistics section chief is a big job. There's actually 6 actual sub-assignments under the logistics. Not every incident has them, but it has the ability to do it. Operations, these are the guys that actually carry out what needs to be done. Planning monitors the incident and determines what's going to be done during the next operational period. Most of the time, operational periods are 12 hours long. So as the planning sections chief, I was in charge of making sure that I knew who was coming into the incident, where they were being assigned to, and then the current status of the incident, and then what we were going to do for the next operational period. Okay, that's what your planning section. And by the way, I had different people assigned to those different roles. One person was taking everybody in. If we were sending people home, that person would be in charge of doing that. And then if the other part of that is actually doing the planning. So you would meet with the incident commander and the operations chief to see what was working, what was not working, and where you needed to allocate your resources to. I can tell you right now, yeah, on a really big incident, that one gets crazy in a hurry, okay? Most of the time, we never ever go past on an incident, usually commander and operations, okay? Maybe some minor logistics, as in getting a fuel truck out there or making sure that we have a rest and rehab area, okay? That might be the extent of a logistics on most incidents, okay? Now, your incident commander, yeah, this is the guy or girl who buys the farm, okay? They are legally in charge of everything. They have full legal authority and liability for the incident. So before you jump on scene and go, I want to be the incident commander, think that one through, okay? The first time you're doing it, yeah, I'm the incident commander. I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then until it starts going wrong, in which case, yeah, you'd usually... And that's why a lot of the chiefs will go, you're in command? Good. What do you need? And they'll do that. And the reason they do that is because, yeah, this one's on him. So whatever happens, it's either good or bad, okay? They have the ultimate authority for making decisions. And by the way, most departments have a transition of the incident command. We're not going to let the simple paramedic usually be in charge of an incident. Usually, there's dumb rules to that, but again, if usually once the chief officer arrives, you usually transfer command to that chief officer, and then he will reassign. He'll delegate you a new task, and it's usually probably the operations chief. Once that happens, they delegate the function responsibilities to others. A great incident commander, by the way, takes a bungee cord, puts it around the belt loop, puts it around the mirror of the truck, and that's as far as the incident commander should go from the truck, okay? And again, you're used to kind of being involved and in charge. When you're being an incident commander, you're the guy that's standing back and looking at everything. All right, we already talked about span of control. Again, is the 5 is where you want to be. 3 to 7 is where you usually are at. But if you get above 7, you really need to split it into whatever, either functional units or work units, depending upon the incident. If I've got a multi high rise, I might have Division 1, Division 2, which would be the floor 1, floor 2, floor 3. If I've got multiple sectors, I might say that they're the sector A manager, sector B manager. Kind of depends on the incident, okay? Which is the art and beauty of an incident command structure, okay? Casualties, by the way, are 2 or more of the patients. It's more than you can actually take care of, okay? Multiple agencies involved in response, that's a good time to implement IMS, okay? The first arriving public safety unit should establish command, okay? I can't stress that one enough. Don't bypass the command. You need to accept the command. When the higher level officer gets there, you can then transfer that command to them, okay? Again, do you really want to be in charge of this really big incident? I'll give you a hint. No, you don't. Okay. You want to be in the blood, mud, and the brew, I guarantee you. You don't want to be the guy that's technically in charge. All right. So on any incident, this is what it boils down to. Life safety, incident stabilization, property conservation. And when you're making decisions, that's the order in which you should be making them, okay? Save lives, control the incident, and then conserve any property that you can conserve, okay? And life safety, again, is a top priority, okay? Do all of your rescues, including yourself, from hazards, and you're going to need to make sure that you protect yourself. Now, the commander has a general staff, by the way. That general staff is a liaison officer, a safety officer, and a public information officer, okay? So they have several people that answer directly to the incident commander. All right. Now, again, your safety officer actually should come pretty early in the incident as soon as you can assign one. And the reason being is because, again, making sure for the overall safety. People tend to do dumb things when they start getting into an MCI. If you've got a safety officer there, it kind of gives somebody a separate set of eyes to go, hey, you're about to do something dumb. Let's not do that. Okay. So incident stabilization is whether the situation is an open or closed incident. And then again, if it's an open incident, you try to generate potential to generate more patients over time. By the way, a closed incident, everything's occurred by the time that you've already got there. Okay. If you are the incident commander, it's a lot better to have too many people there than not enough. I'm going to stress that one again. Especially if you're having to call from other places, it's so much better to call early instead of late, okay? If I get there and I have 60 people injured, I'm probably going to need somewhere around 60 ambulances, okay? Or I'm going to need 30 ambulances and a bus, okay? I'm going to need those resources there in order to get people, start getting them to the hospital. Okay. At no time during operations to rescue personnel damage property unless it's absolutely necessary for life safety or incident stabilization. Yeah, that's right. We shouldn't be taking things out unless we absolutely have to. Now, there's such a thing as the singular command, and that's actually your base model. That's what you kind of like. Well, the problem is there's some agencies out there that they want to be in charge of their little piece of the pie. And what we call that is unified command, or what I like to call it is command by committee. Okay. And I will tell you that actually working with law enforcement organizations is when this one kind of comes into play. Here's why I say that the way that I say it. Because they like to do their own thing. Okay. They don't like to play well with others, and they don't think that a fire chief should be telling a police officer how to do their job. And I will tell you that it gets kind of sticky on that one. But unified command actually does have its advantages in the fact that you got multiple agencies involved, and you can therefore coordinate those agencies a little bit better. And usually whatever type of incident, if it's a law enforcement incident, the law enforcement takes the lead, and the rest of us kind of help and support his decisions. If it's on fire, guess what? The fire department is the lead, but they still have individual command control over their own agency. So that's the difference between a singular versus a unified command. It does make a better balanced decision making, which I think is actually a good thing. But the problem is and this has come up multiple times, is okay, well then who's on the hook? And I will tell you that that one is, fortunately, we've never gotten in a situation that I know of where that's actually become a true. The key thing here is cooperation. And as long as you maintain that, usually everything goes very well with those. Your incident command post, the representatives from the other agencies should meet and make decisions at that. And it should be a safe distance away where you can actually still be involved in the incident, but where if something goes bad at the incident scene, that you're far enough away in order to be safe. The better to be detached from the incident. And the reason I say that is because you're not seeing things, and we have a natural propensity for jumping into the scene when we shouldn't really do so. A staging area. You should stage everywhere away. It should be beyond fumes, smokes. And then you should have a primary site where you organize the resources in one place, but then a secondary site located in a different area that you will call in units from. So this is where your staging area manager comes into play. And yes, it's better to have, what happens is if you get too many resources in one area at one time, it turns into a freaking nightmare. Nobody can get in or out. So by establishing a staging area away from the scene, maybe a half a mile away, you can have all your incoming units go to the staging area and then assign units from there. So when the incident commander needs 4 more ambulances, he calls to the staging area, and then that staging manager sends in 4 additional ambulances to go there. Again, problem with confined areas is that it's very easy to clog up the drain, and therefore you don't have ingress or egress to the emergency scene. Policemen are notorious for doing that. They'll come in, they'll park, and they completely jam up us getting in and out of a scene. And I can tell you right now, if there's one thing you guys should do early in your incident, especially if you are the transport officer or incident commander, make sure that you establish one way in, one way out, especially when you're talking about loading up patients. And it should be some sort of pull through, okay? Make it one direction, make it where it's easy to get in and easy to get out, and make your life a whole lot easier. And then tell the police officers to make sure that those stay open. Okay? Remember that the only person that should be talking to dispatch is the command. Okay? Unless the commander hands off, a transport officer usually talks to the hospitals on a different frequency, but the actual dispatch and commander should be one direct. They should be talking to each other. Nobody else should be calling dispatch to let them know anything. Okay, keep that in mind, especially when we start transporting patients out. It's the transport officer that's going to be doing that. Make sure you use common terminology. Don't use radio codes. Use your plain English. We don't want to use 10 codes, or signals. We don't want to use those. Because again, a signal 40 in Marion County is an airplane crash. A signal 40 in Putnam County is a bank robbery. Okay, kind of different things. All right. So again, resource utilization. Again, it's the primary role of the IC is to develop how they're going to use the resources that they have. And then the IC radios brief progress reports to a dispatcher. Usually every 10 minutes is when they're going to be doing that. Now, again, establish your goals. What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? How I'm going to accomplish it. That's our tactics. And the resources I'm going to need. And then the progress or the lack of progress. That's one of the things you got to back up and go, are we meeting the objectives, or no, we're not meeting the objectives, and what do I need to do to fix that? Okay. If I'm only transporting 3 patients every 10 minutes, I've got a bigger problem. I need more transport units. Well, we don't have more transport units. Okay, I can't use transport units. Maybe can I take a fireman and put them inside of a bus and put 3 or 4 patients on a bus along with a couple ALS bags and start getting them to the hospital? Tactics. Okay, so guys, the cool thing about an emergency situation is you got a little bit of leeway to think outside the box. So don't be afraid to think outside of that box in that. By the way, there are forms for all of this. I-200, I-201, or actually the I-200. The I-200 form is technically a blank piece of paper. 201, 202, 203. There's actually all kinds of forms for these and worksheets. Again, it's useful when transferring command because then you can hand these sheets to them and go over what has and hasn't been done. Okay, I will tell you that most people have what I call the I-200 form. Yep, boy, this thing is great because you can write down everything you need to do and then hand those notes off. But again, as you get a more complex incident, you're probably going to need to switch to the standardized forms. And as a chief officer, you usually carry those inside of your clipboard, and you can start filling these things out. Or your driver or scribe can start doing it. Okay, so again, your force operational areas. Again, operations, planning, logistics, finance. There's a reason that I ordered them that way because that's usually how we do it. And these are all called chiefs, by the way, in the IMS world. Operations sections chief, logistics sections chief. And they may not be established at every incident, okay? The command staff, by the way, they handle, that's your safety officer, again, and your safety officer, your outside liaisons. You can also have mental health support on there with as part of the command staff. I consider that a liaison. And then again, your PIO. Believe me when I say the PIO. Boy, that's a great job to give to the chief that's on the way here, buddy. Let him stand in front of the press because the press is going to start showing up. Okay. So again, the staff functions combines the command staff and the section's chief. But in a EMS organizational chart, this is how we usually set up for an EMS operation, okay? So you got an operations sections chief, and usually there's an EMS manager. Actually, we're going to add that right here. There's usually the EMS manager, which you have a triage unit, the treatment unit, and the transport unit. The cool thing about this, by the way, is that, let me draw my pen, is usually you'll start out with this guy right here. You'll start out here, but then as the incident progresses, you're going to get people to come into this. And then as that incident continues to progress, there. Once you get your triage finished, you can move your triage guys to the treatment. And once the treatment starts to get where you've got good flow getting people out, you can start moving treatments to the transport units, okay? That's the cool thing about an EMS operation, is that's the way that it normally flows, okay? And again, it's a good thing, by the way, when that happens, of course. Erase all the slides on the ink and arrow options. Go back to automatic. Okay. All right. So now, again, your safety officer, making sure people don't do what they're not supposed to do. Again, and this should be established as early as possible. And again, they have the authority, by the way, either the incident commander, actually the safety officer has the ability to stop any action deemed immediately life threat with no further action needed, okay? And by the way, he may terminate any operation inside his authority alone. So if he sees something that's just absolutely nuts, he can go, we're not doing that. And that's the end of the discussion. Liaison officers, they talk to the other agencies, okay? Especially when you have a single command, this is where your liaison officers come into play, because, again, I might have a liaison from the sheriff's office. I may have a liaison from the fire department. I may have a liaison from public works. So all of these guys are liaisons. And your PIO, again, is the person that coordinates information. Long and short, they take care of the press. They take care of media requests. And again, make sure that they kind of stave off those folks. Again, and it helps control the incident. You control your release of information. And on a bigger incident, especially if it's a terrorist incident, a pandemic, that would be a good example of when you do want to control the information in and out. And by the way, that is a symbiotic relationship, not just a one-way direction there. Okay. Mental health support, again, making sure that we rotate in and out. Again, this is more of an operational issue, but if we're having stress reactions and on a big incident, let's say you're on a train wreck and you're there with 500 patients, that can start, you can wear your people out really, really quick. Okay. So this has kind of become a bigger thing in the last couple of years with the mental health aspects. Small incidents, again, usually an incident commander, maybe a couple functional units. And again, major incidents that's when you should be using that IMS system. A lot of departments, Phoenix Fire Department would be a great example. They call incident command on everything, because if you're doing it on the small incidents, you're going to do it on the bigger ones, and you'll do it correctly because you've had some practice. Okay. And by the way, most departments usually say if you've got 3 or more units there, that's when they'll initiate the IMS system. Okay. And I don't disagree with that. I think that but most incidents, I'll tell you, if you think that you're going to have a bigger incident, usually your first officer on scene is going to call that incident command, or the first paramedic that arrives there. Just remember, if you're in a smaller service, that your paramedic shouldn't probably be the incident commander, because the paramedic's going to be the one taking care of the medical patients. Okay. Again, your finance operations, these are the guys that are responsible for accounting and the administrative activities, record keeping, pays, claims, and procurement of items. Logistics, make sure everything works. The facilities unit, again, is where you actually have areas to rehab. You have your radios are part of that, your ground support maintenance. All of that is part of this, okay? Remember that these guys support the operations part of it, not helping the actual operations. In other words, if you've got a medical unit inside logistics, they're there for the health and safety of the responders, versus the operations side takes care of the medical needs for everybody else, okay? So try to keep that in mind as you're doing that. Operations, again, carries out the tactical objectives, can have many branches, many functions based upon roles, geographic locations, okay? And again, the planning and intelligence, they past, present, and future. We're the ones that actually decide where the resources go, if there's more resources needed, where we can pull from those resources, bringing in additional resources, releasing the resources. That's where your planning comes in, okay? You spend a lot of time with the incident commander, I will tell you that right now, okay? Planning sections provide ready when necessary for strategic support. And just remember, and I will tell you that that's true, is very true. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I assure you, in the planning section, that's exactly how we plan for the incident. Okay. And we're almost there. So again, the choice of organization depends on what you got, the structure of your department, and whether you're going to have a singular or unified command. Okay. Branches usually are assigned by either role or geography. And I'll give you an example of that: the extrication division, or the extrication branch, or the south branch, west branch. Okay. And again, I think that it depends on the incident as far as what you are and aren't going to do. Supervised by branch directors, and then the branch director, and then usually the EMS branch director reports to the operations section chief. That's how it usually happens on an incident. Groups and divisions, again, these are working areas. They usually are based upon function. So if I have a south division, I might have a ventilation team, a ventilation group. I might have a ventilation group, a functional group, hose line group, or extinguishment group. These are all things that I might have. In EMS, I might have a building 35 division, okay? And it'll be a triage group north, triage group south, okay? So we can do it, and it can go any way there. You build the incident based upon the needs of your incident, okay? Again, units or groups or divisions that are broken up for more specialized tasks. So again, I might have my north unit in my triage group in the building 35 division within my EMS branch. Okay. I know that it sounds extremely super confusing, but if you were to layer that down, that's exactly what you would see on your chart. Now, again, your sectors, again, interchangeable for branch or groups. Again, they usually have they do not designate a functional group. Again, it's just a section. The 35 sector might be what you also call it. Okay. Again, IMS is founded on the implement only areas of the IMS that you need. You can expand it as you need it. You can contract it as you need it. And I think that's very important that you understand that. It's one of the beautiful things. By the way, triage. I might have 4 or 5 units doing triage, okay? Versus I might only have 1 unit doing triage. But I might have, in treatment, I can have red, yellow, and green sections, okay? So again, I can split this up based upon the needs. If I don't have any green patients, never happens on an incident, I don't need somebody in the green section, okay? I can reallocate that unit. Again, transport. Do I have people that I can reassign to there? So these are all things. Now, I'm going to stop right here because now we're going to start getting into the actual how the EMS branch works. And we'll do that on the next video. This one kind of went a little long, guys, I know. But again, kind of really important stuff. And I'll see you guys on the next one.